I'm Death's Arrow, and this is a WoT I'm Thinking Debrief for the week of June 30th, 2013. With the release of 8.6, World of Tanks has undergone another pretty significant change. Improved gun accuracy, modified artillery, reduced normalization which improved armor, along with less effective heat rounds amounts to more than minor gameplay adjustments that are typically included in a patch. Learning how the changes affect gameplay and adapting to them has been my mission for the past 2 weeks since the patch landed on the North American server. The first and most obvious change is the accuracy buff. Shells generally fly much straighter, and guns I would previously consider very spastic are now much improved. I'm particularly happy with the Cromwell and Martyr 2. The latter, which has been collecting dust in my garage since the matchmaker was reduced to a 2-tier spread. Hitting targets at long range is now much easier, which allows for longer effective engagement ranges. The changes to artillery, which most players consider a nerf, seems to have caused a general reduction to the arty population. I've seen very few matches with more than 3 per side, and they're generally not the dominating force they used to be. This does have the negative side effect of not being able to count on your own arty to help eliminate tough targets for you. Arty was never that big of a deal to me before the patch, so the changes aren't as noticeable outside of reduced support. I still see big games from arty, but it's a lot less often than it used to be. Armor is now much more effective thanks to the normalization reduction along with the penetration changes to heat rounds. Heavily armored tanks like the Maus and T-95 among others are much improved and now bounce more rounds than before, allowing them to stay in the fight longer. I certainly struggled some when the patch was first released as I got used to the changes. The game definitely felt and played differently. Adaptation came quickly enough, and I'm generally happy with the changes as you'll see in the Match of the Week! The replay they'll be looking at is a solo battle from July 6th on Sand River in my Type 59. As noted on the loading screen, this is a standard battle. Reviewing tank composition for this battle reveals the following. This is a Tier 9 battle with 3 Tier 9s and 5 Tier 8s per side. My team has 2 Tier 7s while the enemy team has 5. My team has 2 Tier 6s and 3 Tier 5s while the enemy team has 2 Tier 5s. Both teams have a single Tier 7 arty piece. The key enemies are in Platoon 1. I know of Red-Haired Dave from the forums, and his platoon mates are also skilled players from quality clans. I'll need to keep an eye on that platoon as the battle develops. As the match loads in, I've decided to head north to the gap at D7. Much like previously mentioned in the VK3002D episode, heading straight for this position helps to intercept enemies headed towards the hill north of the cap and slow them down. I'll play it by ear from here depending where the enemies in Platoon 1 go, as well as whatever else develops. As the match gets underway, I immediately start heading north. I'm going to head to the gap furthest east, which is the fastest route to the D7 gap. It doesn't take very long to see that the southern flank is going to be soft with only low tiers headed in that direction. Our number 2 platoon, which has all the top tiers, is camping the ridge at F9 with the exception of the T-54E1, which is headed towards the northern hills. I'll need to keep an eye on the south and be prepared to flex in that direction if necessary. We already have tanks up there and they're taking pot shots at them. T-54 spotted in the back. Still moving up into position. T-44, T-69, which means the enemy's number 1 platoon is also on this flank. Snap a shot off at the T-69 and miss. Been spotted, I back into cover while I reload. I'm going to try to take pot shots if any of the enemies try to cross the gap here. Line up the T-54, I get a hit. Just the ELC AMXs were able to get through the gap. They knocked down our T-21. Trying to line up the T-69 as he crosses the gap and I get a hit. Back into cover. Trying to line up the T-69 again, but he drops below the dune before I can get my shot off. Start to push up again. Enemy T-54 is trying to push the gap. I'll get a nice flank shot on him, and I get a hit. Trying to reload, see if I can get another shot at his flank, but he makes it through before I can reload. Trying to hit the turret of the T-44, and I bounce, likely off his mantlet. Trying to line up the T-34, and I miss. Got an ELC AMX in the open, I'm lining him up. And I don't get my shot off in time, and our T-69 knocks him down. T-44 is trying to climb up into the hills, I'll have a flank shot when I reload. And I get a hit. And you'll notice that the south has been basically completely crushed, with the Leopard pushing up the road and getting knocked down. Bounce a shot off the T-34. Pretty much a likely scenario with such a thick mantlet on that tank. All the enemies are pretty much in cover. They're maneuvering a little bit, but they're all behind the dune. The southern flank, as expected, has been crushed. I make the call to head back to base and try to reinforce the south. Hopefully the tanks that are still camping the ridge at F9 will pay attention and take shots at any enemies I light up. While heading away from the enemy's top platoon isn't something I normally favor, I don't really have much of a choice. I just have to hope the rest of the team won't melt once I leave the flank. I'm not all that excited to see a full health E75 trucking down the K row. While I could potentially try to go after him from behind, a one-on-one fight at K8 would more than likely end in my destruction, as we'd be isolated from my allies behind the hills. Rather than waste my tank, I'm going to head east into town and engage the Tier 7s that were also spotted on this flank, leaving the E75 to my allies. I am pushing into town to go after the KV-13. My allies will have to take care of the E75. I can't engage him and survive. Currently losing by 3 tanks. Spotted again. I'm going to try to bully this KV-13. And I get a hit on him. My front armor should be able to deflect his shots, so I am going to bully him. Get another hit. I'm staying right in his face. I've got an IS pushing in, so I've got to turn my armor towards him. He does get a hit. Just track, no damage. Trying to finish off the KV-13, and our Diag Tiger finishes him off for me. I get a pen through the front of the IS. I do take a damaging hit there, taking a bit of damage here. Got both the Tiger and the IS. I finish off the IS. I'm now going to go after the Tiger. Keep my front armor pointed at him. He does get a damaging hit, but I return fire and get a hit. I'm now going to circle around him. My allies get a hit, I get a flank hit on him, keep my front armor aimed at him. Basically pushed up right on him, I get another hit. He hits me back, but it's only track damage. And I knock him down. Even with town cleared, this match doesn't look good with the enemy's top platoon still alive and pushing. My health is getting low, and I decide to keep pushing northeast, which will allow me to flank around behind the enemies in the north or cap their base. The only enemy that I have not seen recently is the Yag Tiger 8.8 centimeter. All the other enemies are in the north. And I do spot the Yag Tiger 8.8 centimeter. He is in the open and he was moving up. I bounce his shot. I take a penetrating hit, leaving me with low health. You'll notice I am starting to run low on AP rounds. Trying to line up the 5120, but he's behind the dunes. I call him and I push on him. I bounce his shot. I'm going to try to flank around him. And I get around on him, get a flank hit. I am at critical health here, so I do need to be careful. If he pulls forward and tries to back into me at full speed, it will do damage. I get another hit. Keeping him pinned in place. I'm keeping my tank perpendicular to the Yag Tiger 8.8 centimeter in order to maximize my rotational ability. He decides to pull right away from me. I shoot him in the back. Keeping his gun in the opposite direction from me. Get another hit. I am using premium ammo now because I am out of AP. And I knock him down. After finishing off the Yag Tiger 8.8 centimeter, I look at the mini-map to assess the situation. The team has done a good job stopping the enemies in the north, and we now have a lead in the match. I'm not sure what their condition is due to being out of range or how long they'll be able to hold out. My health is critically low, and heading to the enemy cap makes the most sense here for insurance in case the enemy can break through. Begin to cap the base. Enemy 5120 is pushing in on our base. And they knock down the 5120. I have nothing to do here but wait. No point in going back with only 17 hit points. Just the Tiger 2 remaining, so worst case scenario, I cap out the base and get an invader. And my allies are pushing in on the Tiger 2. And the Ag Tiger knocks him down for the win. Looking at the after action screens, I destroyed 3 tanks, damaged 4 more, hit 22 of 27 shots, did 4,336 points of damage, and earned 2,299 experience before the 5 times. Overall, this was one of those matches that went sideways from the start. The team's high tiers all flooded north with only low tiers to cover the south. I knew this was going to be an issue and kept a close eye on the minimap. The low tiers did themselves no favors by pushing so hard and were easily wiped out without support. I reacted and relocated south not long after the flank was crushed. While I normally don't like to leave the enemy's best players to their own devices, it was more important to plug the hole in the southern flank to keep our hill campers from having to handle multiple tanks from 2 directions. The enemy's first tank spotted in the south was their E75, which I wasn't eager to engage solo. Rather than waste my tank, I went east to engage the tier 7s that were also spotted on this flank. After clearing out those lower tiers, I made the call to keep pushing east, running into the enemy Ag Tiger 8.8 centimeter, which while a bit dicey, I was able to circle around, get behind, and take down. With my health critically low at this point, I decided to cap the enemy base for insurance purposes, which became unnecessary as our defenders were able to defeat the enemy's northern push. Thank you for watching this What I'm Thinking debrief. Stay tuned for more content soon.